morning of November 11th, 1918, began like any other in the trenches of World War I. Muddy, cold, and tense. Soldiers on both sides braced themselves for another day of shelling and gunfire. But at exactly 11 a.m., the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent. After 4 years of unimaginable destruction, the First World War was finally over. That moment, etched in history as Armistice Day, marked not only the end of the fighting, but the beginning of a new chapter filled with relief, grief, and reflection. For soldiers who had lived for years with the roar of artillery, the sudden quiet was surreal. Reports from the front described men standing stunned, unsure how to react. Some cheered and embraced. Others wept for fallen comrades who would never return home. In many places, soldiers climbed out of the trenches to shake hands with their former enemies. The silence carried with it both joy and sorrow, a reminder of the price paid for peace. In cities across Europe and America, celebrations erupted. Church bells rang, flags waved, and crowds filled the streets. In Paris, people danced on the Champs-Élysées. In London, King George V joined his people in public mourning and celebration. Across the Atlantic, Americans rejoiced, though the joy was tempered by the staggering loss of life. More than 100,000 American soldiers had died in just over a year of fighting, and millions more worldwide. Yet alongside the celebrations, there was grief. Families who had lost sons, fathers, and brothers struggled to find solace in the victory. For many, the end of the war brought not only relief but also a profound sense of emptiness. In the United States, November 11th became known as Armistice Day, a time to honor the sacrifices of those who fought. Over time, the day's meaning expanded. After World War II and the Korean War, President Dwight D. Eisenhower officially renamed it Veterans Day in 1954, turning it into a day to honor all American veterans, past and present. The symbolism of the 11th hour lives on as a reminder of the cost of war and the value of peace. Though the armistice ended the fighting, it did not resolve the tensions that caused the war. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh terms on Germany, sowing the seeds of resentment that would later fuel World War II. The psychological scars of the conflict were equally profound. Soldiers returned home suffering from shell shock, now known as PTSD, while entire societies struggled to rebuild after years of devastation. Economically, Europe was in ruins. Politically, old empires collapsed. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, German, and Russian empires all fell in the war's aftermath. The world had changed irrevocably, and though the guns fell silent in 1918, the shadow of the Great War lingered for decades. Armistice Day remains one of the most powerful symbols of the 20th century. It represents both the triumph of peace and the tragedy of war. Each year, ceremonies are held around the world to mark the moment the war ended. In France and the UK, 2 minutes of silence are observed at 11 a.m., while in the United States, parades and tributes honor veterans. The day reminds us not only of the end of a conflict, but also of the human cost behind every victory. It is a time to reflect on the sacrifices of millions and to recognize the fragility of peace.